and welcome to another episode of Beyond Your Title Conversations. Thank you for sticking with me because I think the last one I did was in November or October or something like that. Anyway, you guys are here and it's great to have you guys here and it's great to have this session with you people. So basically, as you know, these are conversations that we put together showcasing people and their impact journeys. So really trying to get people to get to a place where they do more impact based work. So we showcase people from different industries, professionals and entrepreneurs who are in the social impact space, grinding it out, or even who are not in the social impact space but are very impact focused in the work that they do. As you know, or maybe you don't know, Sha. So let me tell you, we've also launched the course. So our first cohort for 2024 is now live. Yay! So what that means is that our course Beyond Your Title is now live. So you can sign up, you can register for it at bit.ly/BYT join. I'll take that again, bit.ly/BYT join. And I'll also make sure I add it to the replay so that you can see it in the comment section. We're really, really excited. So if you're one of those people who want to build a personal brand for impact and you don't want to be someone who's just driven by hype or driven by noise or who isn't authentic, then you need to sign up. It's our first cohort for 2024 and it's going to be more than value for your money. Now, this evening, we have an amazing guest. You all should be as excited as I am because it took us a lot to drag this guest to this session. She's our main OG, but she's still but it still took us some time to bring her here. And she's also I can't call her a student because technically she's our star student. But anyway, it's good to have you here, Sister Aisha Adams. I hope you're well. Thank you for honoring this invitation. It means the world to me.
You're welcome. It's actually an honor to be here. I was like, my boss is calling me. Of course, I turn up. There, you
Boss,
go. There, you.
where,
There,
where, where? I'm looking for the boss. I can't find the boss. It can't be me. It can't be me.
you're
Well,
my
thank
boss
you so
now.
much. Thank you. Thank you. So, for everybody that's joining, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, I apologize that we ended up having to start again, that we ended up having to move the time from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. But regardless, if you're joining, please drop your say hello to us, or you can just drop your comments in the comment section if you have any. And if you have any questions as well, feel free to ask them. We'll respond to them during the session. So let's get started. The very first question on I know I'm supposed to start with you giving us a background about yourself, but the first question that comes to my mind, and I'm just going to get on with it, is how do you do it? I'm like, how do you do it? Every time I look at the work that you do, I'm like, how do you do it? But anyway, as you respond to that, I also like that you give us a bit of a brief background on why you decided to do this work. Why did you decide to play in the social impact space? Because I know everything that you do impacts people one way or the other. So how do you tie them together? How did you start? Why did you decide to tread this honorable path?
Gosh, you're asking so many questions.
Yes, people say my
You say,
questions are
how
always
do
A,
I
B,
do it?
C, D,
How?
E.
Because all of the questions, so I'm the kind of person like when you're asking me questions, it's like hitting different parts in my mind, you know.
Okay.
So I would say like, okay, so why? Because the why is always important. I think the why is what leads to the how. Because if the why is strong enough and you're able to find the how, the energy to bring about the how. The why is that my life goal is to leave my footsteps in the sands of time.
Hmm. Word. Mic
Okay.
drop.
That's my life goal. My life goal is to leave my footsteps in the sands of time.
Hmm.
And three words um helps me do that. One is excellence,
Hmm.
one is impact, and the third is wholehearted living and loving.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you see this in the work I do, in the way I show up in the world, in the things
Yes.
that I do. Why do I do it? I do it because I always say that no one is going to get out of here alive. So by say here, I don't mean I don't mean this life. I mean this earth. Nobody's getting out of this earth alive. And
Yep.
as such, if we're setting, if that's one thing that we're all setting about, we're setting about dying and going to the afterlife, then we should ensure that we're living to ensure that by the time we leave, we have given our best, we have lived our best life. And I think that we all have what it takes to live our best life. And so for me, um, it's about when am on my deathbed and I look back on my life, I want to say, Alhamdulillah, I did live my best life, despite all of whatever it is that might have happened. And so I always give myself the permission to dream and to have that belief that I can change the world.
Hmm.
And the way that I think that I can change the world is with this analogy. I was speaking to someone a few days ago. I said the
Yes.
analogy I use for myself is the analogy of a room. The world is a big room with everyone standing in a space. You are
Hmm.
standing in a space, and I am standing in a space right now. And everyone has the space that they're inhibiting, right? That they're taking up in the world.
Yes.
Now, let's assume this room is dirty. It's all black. It's all dark, and we're all standing on that dirty space. If I coin up where I am, and you coin up where you are, what you start to see is we start to have pockets of white spots, and before you know it, the room starts to feel cleaner. And
Hmm.
so, what that means is that even if nobody did what they were supposed to do, and I was the only one doing what I am supposed to do,
Yes.
my impact still gets felt in that at least there is a clean space that somebody else can take up when I leave. That gives
Hmm.
them a feeling of joy and peace and ease. And that
Hmm.
helps them to decide that, you know what, I'm enjoying this ease. I will want it to continue. So I'm going to continue cleaning up the space.
I love it. I love it. Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
So
Thank you for sharing
the why
that.
is really because I want to leave the world a better place than how I met it, so
And
that
that's a very strong why.
somebody else can continue from there. Someone else can be inspired to also be fully present. And the how. Okay, so how do I do it?
Yes.
I remind myself that I only have a short time to live, irrespective, 10 years,
Yes.
100 years, that I
Of
have a
course.
short time to live, and that I have this many things that I want to achieve, and I have this really lofty goals, and I'm a dreamer, and
Hmm.
I feel like we all have the capability to dream, and there is no box. You know how people say like, "Oh, think in the box, or think outside the box."
Yeah.
There's no box. There's
It
no
doesn't
box.
exist.
It's a free land. Think as far as the mind can see. And so I have this many things I want to do. The question is, I might not get to do them all, but I can start and die trying. At least I will feel like I did make effort. And so even on the days when I'm really exhausted and I'm tired and I'm like, okay, I really want to stop, I just tell myself, like, Aisha, your job is not to figure out how to host the people. Your job is to show up for the party. You are not the
Hmm.
host. God is the host. You
Hmm.
show up, do what you're supposed to do, and leave God to host. And
Love
that
it.
just
Love it.
helps me. Yeah, sure.
Love it. I wanted to ask that, looking at the difference, because I was telling people, like I was sharing it in the email, that if we speak about every single part of you, we will not live here. It's impossible. But regardless, I really wanted to know that, looking at the work that City Call Kitchen does in particular, because I'm so inspired by all the work you do. But City Call for me is just, it's a test of resilience, of creativity, of a genuine interest to make a difference, and the consistency. How did you start it? What triggered City Call Kitchen? Why did you have a specific experience that made you start that initiative, and what has made you
Okay,
stick with it even when
okay,
it's hard?
so so when I was going to start Sidiko, right, I had done like I did a plan of what I really wanted Sidiko to be about, and so I knew
Yes.
that we were going to be doing support and empowerment of marginalized people, stigmatized people specifically.
Yes.
So widows, single mothers, divorcees, and struggling families, people experiencing extreme poverty, and we knew that we're
Mm,
going to do health advocacy and we're going to do outreach. So the outreach was intended to be global. And when we started, we used to just do, just Ramadan project. For me, it was just okay. Let's start with something like.
yes.
But then I kept thinking that there's a bigger purpose for the outreach. What is it going to be about, and how? And so it was in trying to research. But then the day that it came to me, it was an incident that happened. So I was at home, and this lady, so there's a lady that was down the street where I was living at the time, who had a salon. It was just a small salon.
Yes.
And she had 4 kids. And this lady works hard. She's there in the morning. She's working, all through. And I knew she had struggles. There were times she would come around and tell me her kids hadn't eaten. On that day, it was really hot, and her daughter comes and says, we haven't had anything all day. And at the time she came, it was
Wow.
like 5 p.m. And I knew that she had 2 children that were like below age 5. So I was worried. I was like, you guys haven't eaten anything. She said, Auntie, we've not eaten anything. My mom said I should come and find out if there's anything that you could help us with. So I ushered her in and then looked for foodstuffs I could, package and take with her. There was a pack of spaghetti that that was going to be disposed because it had gotten some contaminations, and I see her taking it out of the bin. I said, no, 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 leave it, don't worry. And she was
Wow.
begging me to take it,
Wow.
that I shouldn't worry, that they have a way they'll figure out what to do with it. I said, no, don't worry. I'm going to give you other things. And it really, touched my heart. And so I packaged foodstuffs for her and she left. And when she left me, she was so happy to see joy on her face. And I sat down and thought, I said, I am living in a space where this lady has somebody she can come and ask for food.
Hmm.
What about the communities where your situation is as bad as your neighbor?
Hmm.
What do they do in those situations? What gives them hope? She has the hope that, okay, maybe if I knock on a few doors, I just might get help. What about
Absolutely.
those communities where your neighborhood is entrenched in poverty? What happens? And I thought about it and I was like, okay, I could at least bring hope to them. That's what I thought it was. Hope of a better tomorrow.
Hmm.
And the analogy I often use is, imagine you're going on a hot sunny day and you don't have any money on you, and you are just hoping for a miracle, really. And someone just stops you and says, take a plate of food and water. What does that do for you? How does it make you suddenly feel like, oh my God, my situation is not hopeless. God is going to answer my prayer, or my life is going to change. It just brings that that optimism back to you. And I reached out to 2 people, my sister, and one of my closest friends, Inka, like my bestie. I sent it to her and I'm like, I have this idea of cooking in extreme poor communities. And I was thinking that we would just go there and cook with them so that there is no worry and so that there is community participation. Obviously, I have a master's in public health, and I wanted it to be a public health project, like a community project that was going to bond people, but also give us an opportunity to really see what the real issues were in this extreme poor communities. Because it's so easy to assume, project and, in terms of providing solutions. But in needs assessments, what you really do is that you understand the problem from the perspective of the people that are experiencing it.
Hmm.
And the best way to do that is when you show them that you care. You're not doing it for data. They are not just a part of the data, that collection process.
Hmm.
It's that you care genuinely to see that their situation is better.
Hmm.
And we can actually do that. And so we did a quick math and then came up with, okay. And we're like, the intention was to have it every week. Because I did it, how many days does it take to survive outside of, being able to access food, or how many days does it take to survive outside of being able to access water? So I thought a weekly kitchen would have been, ideal.
Yeah.
But because we knew that we were going to survive on, I was going to run it based on my
Donations.
personal funds and stuff like that, I thought, okay, let's start with something. And I am a big believer in consistency. There's a quote that says that, the best things are those things that no matter how small you do, that you're consistent with.
Yes.
And so I decided that, okay, let me start with once a month, with the addition of the, Ramadan project that we already ran. And this project was not about anybody. It was not about a gender or an ethnic group or a religious belief. It was about humanity, about genuinely caring about human beings like yourself who are going through very hard times,
Hmm.
and being a shoulder for them.
Hmm.
And that's how the spiritual street kitchen started. When it started, I'm always a person, like I said, consistency was key. But I was also about, okay, this consistency, how are we going to also give opportunities for other people to join in, So I thought, okay, why not just talk about it? Closed mouths don't get fed. I have the idea. There might be other people that have similar ideas. We can come together because I believe in the power of collaboration and
Absolutely.
partnerships. And so how could I, have that happen? So it's collaboration and partnerships in providing solutions to
Mm,
a problem that we all knew was present. And it was also from a place of optimism and creating hunger in them to want more.
mm,
Think about it. You're in an extremely poor community. What you see is hunger, hunger, hunger. You don't really see hope. You
yeah.
don't see people that are growing. What is going to inspire you to want to come out of there? It's
Mm,
nothing. But imagine that you and I, well dressed, well spoken, we go to these kinds of communities and extend kindness to them. They start to see that there is a different world outside of what they know.
absolutely.
And they start to have hunger to want to grow out of that poverty, to
Mm,
want to grow into becoming that.
mm,
And because I had also done some work in the poor communities back then, one of the first jobs I did when I finished school was working to help refine um, children that were recalcitrant in poor communities. And I saw that one of the things that helped them was love, a show of love.
yeah.
There was actually a boy in one of the classes that I was in charge of. And this boy used to be, he used to be very troublesome, in many of the places he went. But whenever he was in my class, he was calm and people used to wonder what I did to them. But what I really did was give him an opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
And I made it more like a conversation rather than me luring my opinions on him. And I found that it worked. And so it was replicating that I had, tried to do before in these communities.
Yeah. Also,
And we've had a lot of challenges, but I know that's going to be my section. We had
exactly.
a lot of
Yes, that's what I was
challenges.
going to ask you. That what challenges have you faced running this project?
Three, manpower
Mm,
that believes in the project in the way that I believe in it.
yes.
You know, two, funding, of course.
Yeah.
And the third would be helping people understand that the project was not about me
Yeah.
who founded it.
Very important.
It's about, yes, it's not about me. It's about a collective solution to a problem that we all see.
I love that.
Now I will start with the third one.
Yes.
Okay, no, talk. John, talk.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead with the third one. I'll come in.
I'll start with the third one. Yes, I'll start with the third one. At the time I started the street kitchen,
Yes.
I, I till now I don't know any model that is exactly like the street kitchen. There's no model that
Mm,
is operating the way the street kitchen operates. And I think people don't even really understand what we're doing
mm,
because they've never really had, except for people that have worked with us, obviously,
yeah.
but they don't really understand the model we work with in terms of it's not just food provision, it's also like empowering them with skills, it's also empowering them, their minds to think differently and stuff like that. And so it's a holistic project, really, that touches different aspects, pinpoints,
Yeah.
really, in helping them grow out of poverty. But then I started to see people trying to create something else. People coming to meet me to say, "Oh, we want to do a street kitchen project." By the way, the street kitchen name is trademark to Silicon. So it's not. Then the question is, there is a street kitchen project that is struggling to survive and stay
Yeah.
consistent. If we came together to do it, I could be the founder, but your ideas could also be there and it could be valid, and we would all still reap the good of being a part of a solution that changes
Absolutely.
the lives of people.
And this brings me to where I wanted to come in because what you've mentioned now is such a critical point. You know, I'm very passionate about this. And that's, it's one of the things that kind of inspired the way we set up this course. Because I think that as a people, generally, we have to move away from being so individualistic to being, we need to move away
Yes,
from I to we. It's a problem we have,
yes,
it's a leadership challenge we have, and it's also a followership challenge we have. And as somebody who has served a lot in the impact space or who has done projects in the impact space, I see that I understand the need for people to say that founders should brand themselves and things like that. But at a point, I feel like it gets in the way of the work, especially when the
mm,
branding is so focused on I that it misses it leaves the true people that we're serving together. It leaves them out of the picture. And then you begin to have a situation where people support the project, they want to be about the project because of the glory or the shine that it brings to the founder. as
Yes.
opposed to
Yes.
the people that we're serving, you know? And it's
Yes.
also the challenge I
Yes.
have with people who, just go to projects to take selfies with the people who are not wearing shoes, and then quickly put it on their LinkedIn profile. So what I want to ask you regarding this is, what has been your experience in making sure that you've been zero focused on the projects that you do as opposed to yourself? And secondly, because it's something I've seen you do and do very well, so I need to know what the secret is. We need to share it with the world. And then I also want to know, where do you think, because also from your I would say psychological background, what would you say the problem is with people, this, will I call it this glory hunting thing of, it's me that did the project type of thing, where truly, truly, if we all just came together to do something decent, we would move forward and have better results.
Okay, I'll start with the first. So the second one would be me bashing, and I would love to do some bashing here. But
Go ahead.
the first is like what helps me stay. So my identity is not tied to my projects.
Mm.
I am an amazing person in and of myself. I do not need a project to validate my amazingness.
Love it. Word. Okay.
I do not need a project to validate how amazing I am.
Mm.
And I think that that's where the second problem comes from. It's like a lack of self
Mm.
value, a low self esteem problem that
Mm.
many people tend to have, which comes from childhood trauma or other things. I can go on and
Yeah.
on about the reasons why they have those things. There's also the FOMO, fear of missing out, and
Mm.
that's the answer to the second problem. But coming back to the first one, let me take like this. The first reason is because I'm secure in myself. I'm secure in who I am and the value I bring to the world and value that I bring to myself and the community that I live in.
Mm.
And so when I started out, and I come from a home where humility was drummed into us.
Mm.
I grew up, with a father that, Alhamdulillah, Allah bless my dad
I
really.
mean,
And he was blessed financially, and yet we were made to, kneel to greet, we're made to greet everybody, greet the chauffeur, talk
mm.
to everyone with respect and all of that. It was my father always said something, and I think that really helped me. He used to say, "Who are you?" Like beyond the labels. It's not about who my father is.
Love it.
It's not about who is my mother. It's not about who my brother is. You, who are you? And so it, the first 4 years of running Sidiko is going to be 12 years this September. And the first 4 years, nobody knew who it was that was running Sidiko. I was just building the brand. And honestly, there's also the part that I'm also a very private person, but
Mm.
who is just very passionate about serving.
Mm.
The only reason why I show up is because I love to serve. But if you leave me to it, I don't really want anybody to know who Aisha Adams is. I just want them to know what Aisha did or what project she was a part of. So what I was doing was projecting Sidiko, and most people didn't even know who it was until like the fifth year of running. And when we entered into the fifth year, it became imperative that people needed to know, like,
Yeah.
okay, associate the brand with something. And then I started to say who I was.
Mm.
But where it is now, I'm happy to step away and have other people take over because I feel like it's on plug and play right now. And it's beautiful that other people can join in.
Yeah.
And so I think that because I knew that I had so many other parts to me, it wasn't only Sidiko. I wasn't really big on, oh, I'm a founder. And I love to see people grow and see communities transform. So
Yes.
for me, it has always really been about the people I'm serving. Because my why, remember my why is because I want to leave my footsteps in times of time. I
Mm.
want to leave acts of kindness in the hearts of people. I want to
Yeah.
leave acts of kindness in the hearts of people. So
Mm.
I do not um it's not my business whether anybody knows who I am, so long as they are able to add value to the people that we serve,
Yeah.
by
Mm.
supporting the project. Now
Mm.
to the people that are, the second question, again, I go back to the fact that I think that there's a big problem of low self-esteem. There's a big burden of trauma in Nigeria, in Africa at large. And so we feel like we need labels to define
Mm.
us. So
Mm.
if I am not saying I have to, I need this overinflated ego. Yeah, there's also the ego play as well. There's that is a big problem as well.
Mm.
Everybody wants to carry shoulder pad and say, oh, you know what? Do you know who I am? Show my age, me.
Yeah.
All these all these things. Do you know who I am? Do you
Yeah.
know what station I hold?
Hmm.
I'm a founder of XYZ.
Yeah.
Okay. After that, then what? Is there more to you than that?
Yeah.
And if we start to take away the station, and we started to realize that at the end of it all, we're all humans,
Yeah.
perhaps we will be more interested in showing up for the people we claim we're serving. And that's one of the things that Sidiko does. It's always about putting ourselves in the shoes of the people we serve,
Hmm.
which is why in fact, in the first 4 years of running, we barely had pictures or videos because I was always saying to myself, I am privileged. I
Hmm.
am privileged to be from a home that, had access, to be from a family that took care of me. These
Absolutely.
people who do not have, do not want, if they had a choice, they would not want their faces plastered on social media,
Absolutely.
showing them as poor.
Hmm.
However, in the fifth year, we realized that because we were depending on crowdfunding, we needed to show people evidences of the work that we said we were doing. Accountability is what made me then decide that, okay, at this point, we actually need to start having, visual footprints of the work we were doing.
Hmm.
But then we still maintained something, and that was hiding the identity of the people.
Hmm.
So if you see us doing fundraisers, you will not see me put out the name of the person and their surname.
Yes.
Because imagine you were the one in the shoes of these people. And these people are not poor because they are lazy. With
Hmm.
the data that we collect at every street kitchen, I can say categorically that we have a big problem of child poverty, which stems from the fact that, okay, so let me backtrack.
Hmm.
From the data we collect, we have observed that at least 40% of the population of people experience extreme poverty, and we have been to over 55 communities across Nigeria,
Hmm.
are people between the ages of 0 to 12. Even the last street kitchen we did, which was just last month, we had more children population around, right? And then we had adults, but there were few of them.
Hmm.
So I think that well, at least one of the things we can say is that poverty alleviation schemes are wrongly targeted. So this thing will say, oh, teach them to fish, teach them to fish. Can we really teach a 5-year-old to fish? Can we really teach a 7-year-old to fish? So is that really the solution?
Hmm.
Or are we not looking in the right places? Do we need to change focus and
Yeah.
then, so that we can actually prefer better solutions that would actually meet the needs of these people? And so I think that when we start to realize that the people that we are serving are humans like just like you and I, and we started to relate to them with empathy, then we will do better.
Hmm. Thank you. Awesome. I have nothing else to add to that because it's really important that it's really important that people realize these things. I love, I think that it's honestly, I will be honest, you're doing amazing work, and being able to even
Thank you.
do these projects and actually get data. You know how crazy I am about data, because in my opinion, if people are just doing projects and they're not doing data, I just feel like it's a waste of everybody's time, because that means you're not solving a problem. You're just continuing it, or you're putting a plaster on something that requires surgery. But what I really like
Okay.
is how you've spoken about, because I see platforms that do really amazing work, because there's some irritation I have around, let's call them some bodies or organizations who come and make it look like there are no local players trying to solve their problems. And then they tell African stories like everybody in the community is daft. Whereas you
Yes.
have people who, local players that are doing amazing work. If you truly want to make a difference, fund, partner with these guys. And then when you even write
Yes.
about it, acknowledge them, you know? So
Yes.
one thing I like in the way you've shared is that these are problems that they're linked to certain other problems, like wicked problems that we have to get to the
Yes.
root of to be able to solve. And I also like
Yes.
the honor, because I have to give Sidiko that the honor that they give to the beneficiaries. And that's something that we can only realize and only recognize and only acknowledge if we put ourselves in their shoes, like you said. I personally have
Yes.
stopped volunteering for some projects, or just quit some projects just because I felt like the beneficiaries were treated like trash. And for me, that was very
Yes.
painful because it's a situation of privilege. This could have been anybody, you know?
Yes.
So I really like that you're able to identify that, and you're able to really call that out in the projects you work on. Now, something I want to
Okay.
also ask is, I can see how um I can see how the different things that you do have fed into the project, into Citycore. And I want to ask that, what has been the role of your different experiences in helping this project remain?
Okay. So let me understand. Can you repeat the question?
Let me repeat it for myself. Let me rephrase it. So, there are different sides to you. You're a coach, you're a therapist, you're a speaker. Too many, are plenty things. Are plenty. You're even a filmmaker, cinematographer,
I'm a
a
storyteller.
storyteller. So, how have these different parts of you? What has been their relevance to the work that you do with Cidico? And have you seen places where lines have crossed, where you've been able to use your influence or your experience from one project to another? Because you know why I'm asking this, because I see a lot of times people say, oh, but so you have a lot of people who are facing a huge dilemma. When you start to hit like 30, 35, for some people 35, for some people 30, they're just like, okay, why are we really on this earth? What am I doing? And then they begin to think of the things that they really love to do. They're like, oh, I always had this project, I've always wanted to take care of sick children, but now I'm a lawyer. What's the connection? How do I make it work? Or some people are like, oh, I'm a coach, but I cannot be giving people like my sessions for free. So how do I become this person who is vested in impact, while also being this person who has a full-time for profit running somewhere else?
My work is actually tied. I usually like to say that I am a bridge between the rich and the poor.
Mm,
That's basically what I am. Honestly, that's really what I am, a bridge.
mm, mm,
And a bridge supports
mm,
in a multifaceted way.
mm,
Bridges have to be strong.
mm,
They have to be well packaged. They have to be well tied up.
mm,
And so I might use multiple skills to keep the bridge holding them together.
mm,
However, the skills feed into supporting.
mm,
But more importantly, my work is really about healing a population of people
mm, mm,
and helping them come into their essence. That's really what my work is about. It's about helping people recover using the pain that they experience, using their life experiences as the footstool to what they want to get.
mm, mm, mm,
And so I wouldn't say that my work is different things that I am doing. It's really one thing with multiple parts to it. Do you see? It's like it has a core, which is I am looking to heal and grow
yes.
people and communities.
Mm,
However, I am using multiple approaches
yes.
to doing that, to solving the problem, because it's not a one pronged approach. There are
It's true.
multiple approaches, and when I'm able to attack it from different dimensions, then what happens? It starts to shrink, and the problem becomes non-existent, or at least the impact of it is minimal.
Mm.
So that's how I would like to respond. So
I love
it's like,
that.
yeah.
I love that. I think
That's
that says it all. And honestly, I have to say that I'm also proud of you, because I see the growth.
thank
I see
you.
the
Thank
growth
you.
from years ago, and being able to put everything together, which is it's extremely difficult for people who are multifaceted, but who have many skills. And in fact, I also see the impact of the storytelling just by the way you've
Thank
composed your
you.
words so nicely. But I think also just being able to tie them together, it's very important, because the truth is there are other people who serve in this space, but they can't see the big picture. Not because they are selfish, but just because it's difficult for them to make that connection, you know. And that leads me to the next question, that for people who want to make a difference, like I see that there are people who have the will, like they have the intention, but it's the action that's failing them. Or they just want to start and they feel very overwhelmed because they're looking at people who are sending children to school, who are building hospitals, who are doing street kitchen, and they just look like it are like, me, my konkolo, where do I start from? Will it even make a difference? So, what would you tell people who, have the intention or the will to want to make an impact in the society that they're living in? What would you advise them to do? How should they start?
I think you have to start with your mind. Remember, I'm the mind doctor. Because the mind is the powerhouse. The mind is the one that dictates everything. And what you need to do with your mind is setting the intention with your why question.
Mm,
Because your why question always dictates how you then move forward.
yes.
And if your why question is strong enough, it's going to motivate you to take action. It doesn't mean that you would not have days where you're just like, I beg, I just want to throw in the towel. I'm going to be very honest. There are days I've said, you know what, Sidiko, you can go and sleep. I'm going to go and make money.
Yeah.
And then the thing will come back and say, you're just a joker. You know, I say that this
Do
night,
you know who
next
I
morning I wake
am?
up again and I already have. Then I wake up the next morning, I have like maybe like 10 ideas on what I should do with Sidiko to move
Yes.
it forward. And I'm like, okay, God, okay, okay. This is the calling. This is okay. Okay, I've heard. You know,
Mm,
the thing is like we need to understand that we need to understand why we're doing what we're doing, and it would help us.
yes.
The second thing I would say is that
Mm, mm,
who do you want to work with?
mm,
When you think about, because when I work with people in terms of in the capacity of a coach, an executive coach, and you're like, okay, they're trying to figure out what their life is about, or what their life strategy should be about, or what their
yes.
direction, they're trying to gain clarity. And they're like, oh, you know what, I want to be someone who touches lives. The next question I ask you is, what does touching life mean to you?
Mm,
What does it look like for you? Because it looks like different things for different people.
that's true.
And when you have to be able to define it clearly. I defined mine very clearly early on. I knew that I wanted to impact positive in the lives of women and children.
Mm,
It doesn't mean I do not like men. I just know that by extension, if the woman and the child, if the mother is well, the children will be well, and children will be boys and girls. If the girl child is well, then the society will be a better place because she will go on to have a better home and stuff like that. So I knew that I was focused on women and children. Children being that they're the leaders of tomorrow. If we can fix the leaders of tomorrow, we'll have a better society.
absolutely.
And so now, and I know that you and I know, even in the communication, and that's another thing I learned from you and from your course. It's like having a clear avatar.
Mm,
Having a clear avatar doesn't mean that you're not going to touch the lives of other people. It just
absolutely.
means that your work is so focused that even others who you probably didn't even target will start to find it clear and attractive, and they will want to jump in and be a part of
Yeah,
it. We think when
absolutely.
I say I'm doing women and children, it means I'm not taking care of boys. No, it doesn't mean I'm not taking care of the men. No, that's not what it means. It just means that I want to be so clear and focused, and I want to package myself properly in such a way that even those people who I didn't initially target find the work I'm doing important. So I would say that get clear on who you really want to serve.
Mm,
The third thing I would say is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
mm,
If the reason when I started Sidiko, I did not know of any organization until date. I do not know of any organization that is supporting marginalized people. When I say marginalized, not just people that are poor, but single parenting is not for the faint-hearted. And there is a huge, in fact, divorce at the moment is a pandemic,
I know.
and it's
It
hitting
is.
everywhere,
It is.
everybody,
It is.
you know. And so
It
the
is.
question is that who is catering to that community? And it was seen that there was no, like, Africa is deficient in support groups. We like to do, well, for lack of a better word, my thing is the Shanokwa Bruce Lee. Nami strong pass,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like, oh, you have to form like, we're hard, we're difficult. We have to suck in, and
Yeah.
it's not helping us. That's why there's
Be a
there's
man. Be a
mental
man.
health issues. Yes, mental health issues have been in our community for a very long time.
That is true.
We're just now giving it a name,
Mm,
but there is a huge burden of trauma in Africa because of this life and this way of living and this way of looking at issues. And so I had seen that that was a problem, and I wanted to be a pioneer in the humanitarian space. I wanted to
mm,
fill up the niche when I finished my masters, and that's why I started Sidiko. So there
that's
was
it.
nobody solving that problem at the time, and even till date, I still see that, a lot of people, there's this huge burden of shame that we
Yeah.
propel, on people, and we project it onto them, and we make it difficult for people to continue to live lives when they're going through any kind of challenge, be it that they fail an exam, they have issues in their marriage, they have issues in their business. We make people feel like they have to be ashamed of having
Absolutely.
setbacks and stuff like that. And I wanted to be that support for them to get them out of that. And so I would
Mm.
say that look for a project that is
Mm.
existing that you can support or
Absolutely.
remodify or be a
Yeah.
part of helping it grow,
Think
and
so too.
join. If the reason why you want to do it is because you really want to make a difference,
Different. Yeah.
if why you want to do it is because, well, I want to do a legacy, for because it could be another reason. It might not be for FOMO. It might not be for
Mm.
fear of missing out of, or
Mm.
being braggadocious. It might be because, okay, you know what, I want to leave a legacy for maybe my family or something.
Yeah.
Then I will still say that be open to community. I promise you, no one is an island. We all need ourselves. Partnerships is the way of the future. It is the way
Yep.
for growth for everybody, even in business. Even
I
if you want
agree.
to go in business right now, you need to be able to leverage on connections and partnerships and networks,
Yeah.
because your network is your net worth. We say that all the time, and that's the reality now. So if you really want to do a project and you want to impact, I would say that look for people that you can come together and run the project. Because think about it. How many amazing projects have died because the pioneer passed away?
Yeah.
You
That's
do
true.
not want that for the
And that's a
project you're
problem we
looking
have
to impact.
in our society a lot. I
Yeah.
agree. Thank you for that. So now let's talk about beyond your title. In fact, I feel like with everything you've said,
I've been talking
you've
about it
shown.
actually.
I'm telling you, you've shown you've done it all. But regardless,
Thank
I
you,
also
thank you,
wanted
thank you.
please tell us why you decided to take this course. I mean, you're already living a life of impact. You're already a great storyteller. In fact, too much. So that's why you're a star student. So why did you decide to take this course?
I do not think that there is anything called knowing too much or
Mm,
knowing too well. And I'm a Muslim, so I'm going to say that there's a verse of the Quran that record, like, it's recurring in my mind, that makes me really thirsty for knowledge, because I would say that I'm a self development junkie, and that's the verse that says that remind, for the reminder benefits the believers. For that, so it says remind, for the reminder benefits the believers, and there is a reason why you need to be reminded. So sometimes you know something, and when you get back to sitting down in a class and relearning it, you find that, oh, actually I knew this thing, but I forgot how to approach it from this
mm,
perspective.
mm,
Oh, this is a different perspective. And sometimes you learn something the first time, you think you know it. You learn it the second time, you find new knowledge. You learn it the third time, in fact, 10 times after, and you're still finding some new material or some aha moment or something that you didn't even realize the first time, the second time, or even the 10th time that you learned it. And
mm,
so taking your course, and because I know the kind of person you are, I know you don't do surface stuff. I know that you are very thorough and you like to give quality for anything that you do. I thought to myself, okay, she's talking about branding. I've been working on, branding for such a long time. I've always been about, the packaging is always important, and that's how I see branding, right? I've always been about, present yourself the way you want to be addressed and stuff like that. But I thought to myself, what if, going to the class opens a new window, in my mind that I haven't explored,
yeah.
you know why not go there and learn? And so I joined the course for that reason. I wanted to just update my knowledge, or let's say do a refresher course of something I thought I knew, and I didn't regret it, because the very first module, I called you now, I did the first module, and I'm like, be coming down, be coming down, what's going on? Oh, brother, you see this course we're going to do, you don't say that we want to open, master's program. Let's cook on this, what happened? And I sat down, even, and the truth was that there were things that I heard that I had known from being in the
Yes.
field, from working there. It was you talking to me, repeating the things that I say to people to me. And there
Yes.
is something that comes with you hearing, not from your own voice, but from someone else's voice. It
Mm,
does. revalidation of what you knew that you knew. It
Mm.
ensures that the knowledge becomes even more concrete in your mind than it was before. So it
Yes.
strengthens the knowledge in your mind. And more importantly, it gives you an opportunity to be reflective in
Mm.
the moment. And that's what it
Mm.
did for me. So it's like I'm listening to you talk, and you were saying some things that, like, I would have said it to a client of mine. And I'm like,
Mm.
what's going on? Okay, I'm the student now. Okay. And in real time, it was inspiring thoughts in my head on the things I needed to tweak in my work, on the things that I needed to repurpose, the things that I needed to continue doing. And a few hours after, I had 3, 4 pages. I'm like, okay, okay, it's okay. This is just module one. It's all
Well,
right. And I
awesome.
thought that it was an amazing course. And I think that anybody who is looking to redefine who they are, redefine, because if you already know yourself, there's nothing called too much knowing. Every day is an opportunity to unravel something. I talk about self-discovery from a peeling the layers perspective. It's there's always a layer to unravel. You would
Mm.
always learn something new about yourself every single day in every new situation. Even if you have been presented with the situation 100 times, a new one will come and you find that you're doing something different. Something better, something whatever. So I saw that as an opportunity. So I would say that it's an opportunity for you to define who you are. I would say it's also an opportunity to be reflective about how you're showing up in the world. It would get you to be more intentional, not just in business, but also in life, because your life
Mm.
and business are not separate. It's a person. There is a mind body connection that people fail to realize. And so when we're talking, we're like, no, no, let's just look at business. It's not about emotions. Darling, emotion sells your business. There is no
Mm.
business without emotions. There's no emotions without, like, emotion is a part of your life. So everything is interconnected. And I think that the cost also does that because it helps you to also, it's like you're looking through business in terms of branding and all, but you're also looking through your life and how you're showing up in the world. It's also helping you redefine your value as a person and how that value reflects on your business and on the things that you do and the things you hold dear. And I think that it also helps you to then plan properly in how you move forward in work. And if anybody, like this is the beginning of the year, new business year for a lot of people, I think this is the perfect time to take it. There is like
Mm.
it's not a course that you say, oh, and I feel like it's evergreen because you take it now, it brings something to you. Then I be next time there's something new. And if I know you very well, you're someone who also is always like constantly growing, constantly learning. There's always new material to be added to the course. So I feel like it's a course that at the minimum once in your lifetime you should take it. Minimum.
Mm. Mm. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to also really dig deep into how the course has affected the work that you do. So after you took the course, what would you say are some of the things that you what were some of the lessons you were able to apply to your work? What did that look like?
Hmm. There's been a lot of changes. So because like I said, I'm a knowledge junkie. So I've taken a course. I've been doing lots of rebranding for myself. And yeah, you've been seeing my work. You've
Yeah,
been
and it's
seeing
amazing. It's a
it,
HD
yeah,
quality work. Now,
you
wow.
know.
Hitting us on
Okay, so
every single note. Now, wow.
it made me think and say, okay, Aisha, you're moving into the next level of the work that you're doing. It's like I said, it did for me, reminding myself of what my values were. And I told myself, like, my values for myself was okay. I don't have to. I was speaking to one of my friends yesterday. I told her, I said, in a world where everybody's losing their values because they're like, oh no, everybody has, keeping your values is hard, but
Yeah.
it helps you to become an outlier. It separates the grains from the chaff. It helps you stand out. It shows up as you being unique and clear on how you want to show up in the world. And I feel like what that cost did for me was that it just reminded me that it was okay being who I was. It was okay having strength of character. And more importantly, if I really did want to leave my footsteps in the sands of time, then I needed to tidy up my work even more. The place is never too tidy. You might clean up a room now, you come back again, you have to reclean it, and then you still find some dirt in a place that you thought you had cleaned before. So
Yeah.
what it has done for me is help me reshape the way I see my work. Last year, because liquor had been on plug and play in some parts, I didn't really think that there was a need for much planning. And I would say that it did affect the way we showed up last year. And so when I took the course, because did the course last year, I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that again, next time. I'm going to keep up with the standard of having a 4 year plan. The 4 year
Yeah.
plan doesn't mean that it's going to go to the letter, but at least it gives you
Yes.
a clear oversight of what you're doing. And I think
Mm.
that that's another thing that I took away from the course. It was being able to have a blueprint on how to navigate moving forward. And I think that you did an amazing work with that. Thank you for the course.
Thank you. Thank you for being our star student. Because honestly, I
Thank
remember
you.
when you called me that day, I feel like I saw the course in a completely different light. Because I was just putting it together. Oh, okay, branding impact. I'm like, okay, what's my experience as branding on this hand? I've done some work in talent management as well. I've always, functioned in the impact space, either full time or volunteer, whatever the case may be. Also a creative writer. So I was like, okay, it's time to put all these things together. But when you
Mhm.
called me after that day, I'm like, okay, maybe this course is more than what I thought it was. Because
Yes, it
even
is.
when you start talking about, like a blueprint for the work you do,
Yeah.
honestly, I was just like, I just need people to see that for Africa to rise, we need to be selfless. We need to put the people who we serve at the center. We need to put our egos aside. We need to understand that our personal brands can make a difference, beyond.
That's, let me just cut in. You said ego. Remember, it goes
Yes.
back to why people are not showing up fully authentic. It's the ego
Yeah.
play.
It's
And
the exactly.
your ego play is minimal when you know who you are. There's an
Mm,
identity crisis issue. People don't know
mm,
who they are, and I beg to differ. Sometimes anybody listening to this now might say, "Oh, you know what is that? What our parents did." Okay, okay. Let's,
mm.
for the sake of constructive discussion, let me agree with you that parents made you live a certain way. You're old now. Your parents made you eat Gary. Are you still eating Gary?
Exactly.
Your parents made you drink from a particular cup. Are you still using that kind of cup, or are you defining what you want to use? So, with all due
Mm.
respect, I think that what we really need to do is be
Grow
honest
up.
enough, be open enough. Yes, grow up. But more importantly, be open enough to taking responsibility. I find
Yes.
people shelving responsibility for issues, and I have a problem with that.
Mm,
Taking
mm.
responsibility of your actions and or inactions, your own
Absolutely.
contribution to the problem, it makes a
Absolutely.
world of difference. And I think that the module one, like in fact, maybe you should even sell the module one as a program on its own. It's a course in self rediscovery, and
Mm.
you look at it and you listen to it, you're like, okay, there's this, and you're literally in fact, I think if a person is starting the course, if you don't start well with module one, you miss out on the juice later, because it's almost like a foundation. It's like a foundation. You want to build the house, make sure the foundation is strong. You take that
Mm.
course, no distractions. Even if you like miss the life class and you have access, make sure you sit with it by yourself and you are intentional in the things that comes to your mind as you're listening, and you will find that you will get the best out of the course.
Thank you for that. In fact, for this cohort, I'm going to crop out that place. I put it there. This is what our star student said. Oh, follow through. But thank you so much, Sister
Welcome.
Aisha. You've given us, in fact, so much. There's so many things you've said. There's so many things that you've shared that are absolutely, absolutely valuable. I think that if people implement even 10 minutes of this conversation, they will be better people. And that's why it was so important for me to have a conversation with you. I really wanted us to have this conversation because I wanted you to I really wanted you to share what it takes to do this work. Because I also find that honestly, when people, and that's why I like that you kept taking it back to the why, because I know that once people do not have a solid why, they just drop off along the way. But you know what's even sadder that I've experienced is when people center their why on an ego trip, what happens is they stay for the long haul, but for the wrong reasons, and it
Yeah.
reduces the quality of the impact. It reduces the good work they can do because they are too focused on their own image. So that's why I'm telling people, that's why I encourage people, that I said not everybody will be able to start up a city kitchen, not everybody
Mm.
will be able to build a hospital, but for some people, just by function of who you are, your resources, your talents, your experience. You can put these things together and use it, like you rightly said, to support somebody else, to contribute and make a difference. And
let
then,
me say something at this point.
yes,
You said something
yes,
now that just triggered a memory of, there was a question you asked earlier, something along the lines of,
yes.
on the days it's hard, what keeps me going? And I think I just remembered, and what keeps me going is that I renew my intention for why I'm
Mm,
doing it.
mm, mm.
Whenever we hit a
Wow.
roadblock, and we've had so many things have happened. 12 years, of course, it's almost 12 years, and
Woo!
a lot of things have happened. Thank you.
Mm,
you know, like over the last 11 years, things have happened. We've had moments where, like I said, it felt like we're going to close, but I always would go back to, why did I start this,
mm,
and what is the value that I hold dear, that I
mm,
hope will take me beyond this. And
mm,
I would
mm,
say that sincerity is that thing. It matters a
mm.
lot.
Yeah.
And I always would then, work on purifying my intention at that point and saying, this is not for me. This is not about me. This is about serving,
Mm,
seeking the pleasure of God alone,
mm,
serving people and bringing light to others. And when I started to, whenever I do that, I promise you, if we were having a difficult time, I find that things just turn around and we're able to then make headway. So I would
mm.
say that having a value you hold there and ensuring that that quality is present in your work could actually make the difference in one person who is able to keep running a work for hundreds of years and one whose work dies after a few months of starting.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. You've said more than enough. And I honestly think that anybody who wants to get started can take a lot of gems from this session and run. Even me, I'm cutting up videos in my head already. Thank you so much. And I truly hope and pray that the work goes way beyond you expect it to, and that
Amen.
it
Amen.
makes way more impact than you've even planned or than you ever imagined. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm so sorry we couldn't take any questions. I was so carried away with the conversation that I made it
Are
my
there
own
questions?
conversation. I don't even know. I didn't even check. I didn't even check. But what I would say is that please, I have tagged Aisha Adams in all the different quotes. I've put in some quotes during the session and I tagged her. So you can feel free to reach out to her. She does amazing work. You want to know how to get started, you have coaching needs, you have therapy needs, please feel free to reach out to her. She's our star student, one of the people that I'm
You need someone
proud.
to come and speak to your crowd to
Yes, you need
inspire
someone
greatness.
to inspire greatness, to figure out why you are here on this earth or what your purpose is. Please reach out to her. And then for anybody who wants to take this course, which you should, as Aisha
Yeah.
has mentioned, please feel free to register. I put the link in the chat section. But it's bit.ly/BYT join. So once you go to the website, you can take the taster course if you want first, whatever the case may be. You can watch a replay of this and take your notes. Feel free to ask us questions on brandable sketches on every single platform. And by the time, if you go to our website as well, you can also subscribe for our mailing list so you can get information on the session. This is part one with Aisha. Part two is coming. Watch out for the information. Thank you so much,
Hey,
Aisha,
we will be
and
doing
have a
you. I'm
wonderful
sending you
evening.
my bill. Yeah, you
Send the
too.
invoice. My crowd is capable. Thank you so
Okay,
much. Have
then
a
take
good
care.
evening, and I
Yeah,
look
you
forward
too.
to the awesome work that you do in 2024 and beyond. Thank
Thank
you. Thank you
you.
everyone for joining. Have a good evening.
Yeah,